started if everyone's ready. Please just go ahead and use your hand raise button if you've got a question, and we'll get started. All right, Ben, you can start us off.
Yeah, Mike, just first of all, what's the injury situation right now? What's going on right now as far as Trey and other guys like that?
Trey, I'm trying to think of the day. Alex, maybe help me. It was probably Friday, I think. Either Friday or Saturday. I think it was Friday. Playing first base, errant throw drove him up the line and collision at first base and dislocated his shoulder. Um, and so gets an MRI today. Uh, but it's his non-throwing shoulder, so likely just to be out, um, for 2 weeks to maybe a month, just depends. Lives once he starts being able to move it. What pain will probably be the guide there, and try to figure out um, you know when he can get back to full speed swinging.
Well, it doesn't really apply, but Calvin had the Tommy John surgery, but really been hitting well. You've talked about it, how he could potentially hit a little bit. I mean, is that a real possibility? Do you think with the way he's performing?
Yeah, I think without a doubt. I think we didn't want to put that on him. Especially when he went down with the injury and had surgery. But at this point, it's certainly an option. To consider. I don't want to say it's a done deal. We'll continue to look and uh, obviously, at this point, it would only be designated hitter, pinch hitter, some role like that. He won't start throwing, doing any of the throwing protocols. I think until the end of this month, and so it's going to be quite some time before he can throw.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep going. The weekend itself, just what was the overall takeaway from the second weekend of inter squads?
The obvious thing from our standpoint is we just continue to swing it really well. Uh, been a little frustrating, I think, on the defensive side or pitching side. Um, you know, Gunner and Derek have been hit around a little bit, but their stuff's been good. Their velocity's been up. I thought strike percentage was better for Gunner this week. Just a couple mistakes, and again, facing some guys that are really swinging it well right now. But we know what those guys can do. Uh, Probably on the negative side, would like this some other guys to to kind of step up and pitch well, like you want everybody to, but not everybody's going to. And I think one of the things that I talked about in the meeting today, you get 22 pitchers. They're not, especially when we're swinging it well, they're not all going to pitch well. But guys like Nikhazy's pitched lights out. Jackson Kimbrell was really pitched strong, this past week. Um, Drew McDaniel's been, lights out 2 weekends in a row. Um, Broadway's been really sharp, I think 2 weeks in a row. Um, and Luke Baker's been strong. And so there's guys. I think sometimes it can get lost, just because we've hit it so well. But there's some guys that have pitched it well as well.
Parrish, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, are you pretty settled still at positions, or are there competitions for starting jobs anywhere?
Well, I'd like to think that there's competition all the time. You play in a sport that things change from week to week, and it's not like football where it's just one game. We play a lot of games sometimes in one week. Maybe it's only five, and so I think there's always going to be competition. I don't know if there's anything to bring to light since the opening press conference where, hey, this guy's lost his starting job or anything like that. But I think just watching guys move around the field, we're learning more. As Ben said, to watch Calvin Harris, swing and get out there for the first time and move around. There's other, young guys that probably haven't got as much attention, like TJ McCants, who's played really well, the 2 weeks. And not that he had a bad fall. He had a solid fall, but, sometimes you get shadowed by guys like Jacob Gonzalez and others. And so there's guys that, put themselves in position that, they're going to get at bats this year. But nothing, to say that, hey, we're taking back what we said a week or so ago.
Chase, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, with pitching inter squads, you mentioned pitching versus hitting. How much of it's situational on, hey, get out of this, get outs versus guys just working on what they need to work on, because it is still practice. What's sort of that mix there?
You're right. And it from my standpoint, I think sometimes calling the pitches, I'm less worried about the outs than I am trying to figure out what each guy can do. Or like you said, if we're working on a specific pitch, can he execute those pitches? And so there's times, like an example would be in the case he has 2 innings to pitch and he's rolling, and now he gets to the second inning, he's only got a couple outs left, and we haven't really thrown a changeup, and I wanted to throw some changeup. So, I may throw changeups to, in situations that I wouldn't normally, in trying to win the game, just so he can use some of those pitches. So those types of things happen, and they're juggle, and, the competitiveness of the pitchers, they want to get outs. And, so sometimes, have to be guarded against that and just be able to, hey, can he locate his fastball in? Can he, execute this, breaking ball, behind in the count, and some things that maybe if we're playing for real, right, and during the season with somebody else in the other dugout, we may not do it that way. So that's not making excuses, though. I mean, the pitchers, the hitters have, I think, outshined the pitchers to this point. My comments earlier were more that certainly. You look at all the runs that have been scored. You look at the offense, but there's some guys that have thrown it well. But certainly, it's been a lot more offense than pitching.
All right, we'll go to Nick.
Mike, last week Lane gave you and your staff a lot of credit for the Taijuan Malone recruitment and that entire situation. Just can you talk us through how that collaboration went down and just kind of what you see from him as a 2-sport athlete like some of these other guys you have?
Yeah, all I can go on is what, as far as, what you see is what other people see and tell you about, Malone and just watch the video. And he's a giant human being, but he's a good looking human being. And I don't know, when it comes down to it, why certain kids make decisions. Obviously, we're really excited. I think it's a feather in both our caps, football and baseball as well. But as far as the recruitment, it's different, the way they recruit kids. And I think the way it happens, it's much later in their high school, life. So that, some of the things that we're doing, with those kids are different, where, some of the younger kids, we're waiting to call on us because we're not allowed to call them, but for Malone, I know Coach Laff and Coach Clem had been, I was on a Zoom with them, with Coach Kiffin. I know Coach Laff and Coach Clement have been on several Zooms, with them. And I think, we kind of have a little bit of advantage because of the time frame that it was taken, during his recruitment, where we got 2 guys that, not only stars on the football field, but are stars in our baseball program, where a lot of schools can't point to that. They may have pointed to, the history or what they feel, but we, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, it's happening right now here, and it's happened over years from guys like Seth Smith and Sinquez Golson and others, but Michael Spurlock. So guys that have put on the shoulder pads in the fall and come out and swung or, played baseball for us in the springtime. And I think that had a lot to do with it. And I think just the energy and the positiveness of the program, where, we got a good baseball program and a good football program, and I think that helps out. And so when you can show a kid and a family that really, I think, are adamant about doing both, that it's actually happening here, I think that was, important to them.
All right, we'll go to Chris.
Coach, over the weekend, looking forward to the season, Kendall Rogers reported that there would be an allowance for the MLB extra inning rule. How is this going to be adopted, or is this going to be adopted by the conference, and how will this be handled in non-conference games?
We've discussed it as far as a conference and where we would go with that. We haven't voted officially on it, so I hate to put anything. We have a conference call this Thursday that probably will decide some more factors like that. But one of the rulings that we got from the NCAA is that you couldn't combine it, meaning you couldn't go 2 innings of straight up regular baseball and then go to the extra inning rule where you put a guy at second base like in the 11th inning. You couldn't, or 2 innings after the normal regulation game, whatever it was. You either had to go with the guy at second base immediately, or you had to play straight up baseball. But officially we haven't done it. As far as in a non-conference, I don't know, and I haven't decided. I would probably lean to playing straight up baseball, but that's something that's discussed prior to the game. So both teams have to agree to it.
All right, we'll go back to Chase. Hey, you're muted. Yeah.
Mike, how many times are you guys having to be COVID tested right now? What's kind of the plan for that during the season, on what days or anything?
We test on Wednesday around lunchtime, and we've done that almost the whole year.
Okay.
Since the kids have been back on campus and we've been practicing. When we start, my understanding is we'll be tested a minimum of twice a week. I think we will get tested, and of course this is COVID time, so things are subject to change. But I think we will get tested on home weekends on Sunday morning to start the week, on away weekends when we come back from away weekends. So if we're coming back from, for example, the first weekend, when we come back from Arlington, we'll get tested Monday morning, and then we'll get tested again on Wednesday. Okay. And that will lead into there was a thought but they changed just because, like many things through the pandemic, they've learned. There was a thought, I may have shared this on last week's call, where when you travel, you test on Wednesday. When we test on Wednesday at lunchtime, we get the results by 6 a.m. the next morning. So we would test on Wednesday, get the results, travel on Thursday to a road trip. But the thinking was that if you were home, you would test on Thursday, to kind of get you closer to the weekend. The problem with that is you don't get the results until Friday morning. And so if you had an issue, an outbreak to where you couldn't play, the other teams already came to Oxford. And so they've had that incident, I think, a couple times in basketball. So once you start to figure out, hey, that's not good. We need to probably test on Wednesday. So if we have an issue and we can't play, you don't have, I don't know who it would be. You don't have Kentucky flying in here, and they just spent all that money to fly here, and you can't play. Okay. So it looks like that was a long answer to either Sunday or Monday, depending on where we're coming from, and Wednesday.
Anything else for Coach? All right. Thanks, everybody. If you want to talk to any players, just let me know and we'll get it set up.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike.